Hey everybody, this is Jay Woods from the Pokemon Trading Card Game Show Profit, and I've got another playthrough video for you guys today. Now this is going to be in the similar vein of the Shubbit video that I did almost a year ago, but it's the same style deck. You don't really need an opponent to explain how the deck works, and that's about it. This deck is Sableye-donk, or Sable-donk, or whatever you want to call it. And this is going to be an explanation of why this deck makes the format bad if our format doesn't change. And we also get the rule changes that have been announced that should come into effect on April 26th. Now, the aim of the deck is to use Sableye with a Special Dark and Expert Belt to deal 70 damage to a Pokemon with 70 HP or less with Overconfident. That's one knockout that you take at the end of your turn, and you usually want to make it the knockout where your opponent has only one basic Pokemon active by the end of your turn. Also, during this whole strategy, you're using Uxie, many trainers to set up, Crobat G to deal Flashbite damage to get a knockout, and when your opponent's down to only one bench, you play Seeker. Seeker forces your opponent to pick up one of the Pokemon on their bench, so you play Seeker to give your opponent 0 bench, take that last prize to Sableye. Now, the way I've been testing this, on average, about 9 times out of 10, if this deck does get to go first, either through Sableye or winning on the coin flip, you win right there if your opponent has 3 Pokemon with 80 HP. That's what I've been testing with. You can do even more than that, but that's just the condition that I set for myself, because I think that's pretty generous. On the very first turn of your game, for your opponent to have 3 80 HP Pokemon, I feel is... I'm not going to say it's asking a lot, but I'm saying it's a much better start than usual. Now, the way this has been working, when this deck sets up, it can clear that field every single time, and if you start with Sableye before your opponent even gets to draw, that's the biggest problem about this format. Now here's a couple of proxies. Backwards cards are Victory Medals. I only have 2 with me, the rest are at home. All of the Unknown Cures are Unknown R's, basically just a card where if you discard it from your bench, you can draw a card. It's Pokemon Power. And all the Sableyes are the Sableye from Stormfront. I just have all my Sableyes in my Sableye deck right now, so these are just the other kind of Sableye. Now, this deck can take a really, really long turn, so I'm going to try and set up as quickly as possible and not bore you guys. Now, this deck is a little bit different than the decks that I've been hearing from people that concern Sableye. Basically what people are saying is because you lose to a Spiritomb start, that they're tucking in things like 4 Pokemon Collector, Unknown Dark, and Regice, and things like that, but the way I see it, and I'll explain it at the end, this is probably the best way to go if your aim is to donk on turn 1, which is, just clear your opponent's field. It's as consistent as possible. It uses the engine that Rob Downs, I guess, kind of patented for Uxie Donk. It's very similar to his engine. But the idea is just burn through your entire deck. Now, most of the time, and about 8 or 9 times out of 10, I'm able to do it. And on those 8 or 9 times out of 10, I draw my entire deck on turn 1. Or at least enough of it where it matters. So this can get really boring. It can take a 15 to 20 minute turn, which in itself is just shows that there's something wrong with the game. But the biggest problem now is when you start with Sableye, you get to go first, and the rule is you can play trainers and supporters on turn 1. So you can do all this before your opponent even gets to draw a card. So we're going to assume Ambipom G and Garchomp C are on the bench, and we've got a Garchomp C active. And I'm going to get to it. Now again, this deck could burn out right here, but shuffling to let you guys know I didn't stack this deck to force my point. I'm just going to make it random, and we'll see if I can do it. Most of the time I can. So I'm going to draw my 7. If I don't start Sableye, it's unfortunate, but okay, I did start Sableye, so I can explain that to you guys. But basically, it'll start with Sableye 40% of the time. That's just the statistic for if you run 4 of a basic, which is pretty high in itself. So I start Sableye, they're starting Garchomp, Ambipom, and this is them deciding to put these 3 basics down on their first turn. Sableye's Pokebody over Eager means I get to go first, and I get to play my trainers right away. So I'm going to go through this as quickly as I can. Immediately I'm going to drop Crobat G, Flashbite, that's 1 damage. Now, with this particular setup of 3 Pokemon with 80 HP, it's actually smartest to put damage on the active first, because then you can play Seeker without any risk. Now, that doesn't mean it's the best for every scenario, but in this particular case, if they have exactly 3, that's what you're going to want to do. Play Poke a Turn, lets you pick up an SP Pokemon, pick up Crobat, Flashbite again. So, he's at 2 now. Looking at the rest of my hand, I am going to play Pokedex, look at the top 2 cards of my deck, pick one, and put it into my hand. Now, the Darkness Energy is very tempting, but I'm going to take the Unknown R, just in case I'm not able to set up with anything else. I actually only run 1 Darkness Energy, and I'll explain later why you can do that, but I should be able to get it later. I'm going to drop the Unknown R. I'm going to play Victory Medal. This is a trophy card you can only get from winning Battle Roads. It's flip 2 coins. If you get 1 heads, draw a card. If you get 2 heads, search your deck for any card. We've got 2 heads, 2 4s here, so I'm going to search my deck for any card. Now again, I don't know how my flips are going to be. When they're subpar, sometimes the deck can't do it all, but what I found is if I can get around 50% heads on my flips, I can blow this setup up every time. So the 2 heads is a good start. So I've got my Uxie, discard Victor Medal. I'm actually just going to leave the pile of trainers here. It's just easier to leave them there. Now I have 2 Super Scoop Ups. I'm going to play one of them. Try and get another Crobat G drop. Got Tails. I'm actually going to play it again. That way I can draw more with Uxie and have a chance at dealing this extra damage here with Crobat. That went off screen, but it was another Tails. So, looks like my heads have evened, and I'm going to drop Uxie, set up, draw 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Got my 7 card hand. Now, right away, I'm going to drop the other Crobat in my hand. Flashbite. He's at 3. Looking at some of my other options. I don't know, Dusk Ball. Look at my discard. I have the 2 Super Scoop Ups. Okay. I am going to play Junk Arm. Lets me discard 2 of the other cards in my hand to take a trainer from my discard pile and replay it. I'm going to discard Dusk Ball. Don't really need it because I have all the Pokemon I really need now. And Crobat G. I also won't need it because I'm probably going to want to play all 3 of my Uxies. Discard both of those and replay one of the trainers I've already played. I'm going to look at what I have played, and I'm going to take the Poke a Turn. So, replay Poke a Turn, Flashbite once again on Garchomp. Garchomp is now at 4. Now, looking at what I've got, I'm going to retire this one Unknown R on my discard pile. Lets me draw 1 card. Lithograph. Now this is a card that I'm going to explain to you guys. It seems like a kind of strange addition. It lets you look at your face-down prize cards, and basically the idea behind this is you play Lithograph and look at your prizes. Now you can take any card that's crucial to your deck. This is why I can only run the 1 Darkness Energies, because if it's prized, when I take the 1 prize on my turn, I know where it is in my prizes because I played the Lithograph. So looking at my prizes, there really isn't anything too important to take, just this Poke a Turn, if you really need to deal that extra damage, but otherwise these are actually not such bad prizes. None of my 1 of copy cards are in here, but because I played the Lithograph, I now know where they all are. So, I'm going to drop the other Unknown R, not going to play it, just going to leave it there, and I'm going to set up with Uxie to draw 6. Going to leave the Pokédraw in my hand because it's much better if you're able to play 2 of them at once. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in my hand now. Immediately, you're going to want to play that Poke a Turn. I just realized I have... Oh no, these are my prizes. Put my trainers back here. Poke a Turn, Flashbite with Crobat. Garchomp's now at 5. Now, I'm looking at some of these other cards. I'm going to retire my Unknown R. Draw a card. Got Dual Ball. I'm going to play the Dual Ball. What Dual Ball can do is, if I get at least 1 heads, oh, got 1 tails, the other one fell off my desk. Again, when I'm rolling the dice, I can't exactly tell. I'm sitting down, the camera's above me, if it's going to be on screen or not, but you'll have to take my word for it. We got another double tails. So again, showing you guys, if I still do it at this point, that it can be done even with a good amount of tails. Now I'm going to play my Quick Ball. Lets you reveal cards off the top of your deck till you show a Pokemon. So we're going to reveal, we got Sableye. I already have my active Sableye, but that's fine. I can use this Sableye to discard with Junk Arm once I get to using all my other resources. So I'm going to play my other quick ball. Try that again. I'm just going to shuffle a little bit more. I don't know. Don't want to get it. Something terrible. Getting the Uxie would be great, but oh, alright, we got another Sableye. Now, for the sake of you guys, I'm actually going to swap that active Sableye with the Sableye that I got here. So there's my swap. Now we got the two Sableye in my hand, which I can discard Junk Arm when I'm ready. I am going to drop the Unknown R and retire. Draw another card. Pokedex. Play Pokedex. Look at the top two cards of my deck. Pick one, put one at the bottom. I'm going to take that Darkness Energy now. Whoop. Dropped one card off the table. Put that back. So we got Uxie, Sableye here. Going to attach that Special Dark. I'll need that later. Now I'm going to play Super Scoop Up. And this will be an attempt to replay the Uxie. Got heads on this Super Scoop Up, so I can pick up the Uxie. Now, because I have Uxie in my hand, I don't have to worry about using my Junk Arm to play another Uxie. Now I can play my Junk Arm, discard my two Sableyes, and I think I'm going to take a Poketurn off this. Looking at what I've got. Usually when you play the Junk Arm, as long as it's not crucial for resetting your hand with another Uxie, you're going to want to play the Poketurns or any ways to deal extra damage. So Poketurn, Crobat, Flash Bite, active Garchomp's at 6. So, drop Uxie, set up, drawing 6 cards. I still haven't seen my other Pokédrawers, so hopefully I'll get the second one here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, no Pokédrawer, but it's alright. We still have a couple other things we can do. First off, I can attach this Expert Belt to Sableye. That's going to be a guaranteed knockout. Looking at what else we've got, Pokeblower Plus. I'm going to play this. Basically, I'll play Pokeblower, flip a coin. If heads, add a damage. We got heads, so Garchomp C is now at 7. Now just 10 damage away from being knocked out. Now, I'm trying to look at some of the things we've got here. I know that there's one more Uxie in my deck, which I can get on the dual ball if I get at least one heads. That seems like the safe thing to try for right now. I'm also just going to look at my prizes. I know I should have memorized them at this point, just to see if there's anything really crucial in here for draw. I don't need to deal extra damage because Garchomp's going to get knocked out. Okay. Yep, I'm going to go for that dual ball. Hopefully not get double tails again. Roll for dual ball. And we've got one heads. 6 and 3, so search my deck. And I'm going to get an Uxie off this. Grab Uxie. Just going to look through the rest of the deck, see how many Pokemon are left. And, believe it or not, the deck has no Pokemon left. So any more of my search cards are useless. I can dump those with Junk Arm right away. Gotta check my battery. My battery's low. Gonna try and finish this as quickly as possible. And then I'll finish up with summary after it's done. So, got my discard pile, got my deck, got my hand. I'm going to Junk Arm, and at this point, I can get rid of both Unknown Q. I don't need it to retreat anything. And the Dusk Ball, there's no Pokemon left in my deck. And I'm going to replay Poketurn with that Junk Arm. So I'm going to pick up Crobat, Flash Bite. Active Garchomp is now knocked out. We've dealt 80 damage altogether to the active. He's gone. He's discarded. They have to put something else up active, and you get to take a prize of your choice. Looking at what I've got, I'm going to take that Poketurn. Play it right away. Poketurn, pick up Crobat, Flash Bite, active Garchomp. Now, Garchomp is 70 HP. As soon as I attack with Sableye, he's knocked out. So basically, we're going to use the rest of the cards here. I'm going to set up again for 6. Still haven't hit that other Pokedrawer. If I do, I've already won. So, set up, drawing 6. There's already the other Pokedrawer. 3, 4, 5, 6. So now normally I can play the double drawers, get any 2 cards that I want out of the deck, and that's that. I can play them both, search the deck, any 2 cards. I'm going to take the Seeker off that. But just to show you guys, I'm going to try and deal any extra damage that I can as long as the camera still has battery. I'm going to take Seeker and a Poketurn. Actually, looking at my hand, I have... Oh no, Seeker and a Poketurn is the right way to go. So put that down. Poketurn, Flash Bite. Now this would be, I'm just going to count on the side, the extra damage that we're dealing here. I've already won the game before my opponent gets to draw. That's 100 damage on the side that we've done so far. I can play Junk Arm. Discard these useless ball cards because I've already gotten every Pokemon in my deck. Take back Poké Drawer. Now I can play 2 Poké Drawers in my hand. Once again, search my deck, any 2 cards. Now, looking through my deck, I don't really have anything that can deal extra damage, so I'll take the Super Scoop Up, and, yeah, Super Scoop Up and Poké Blower Plus. That looks like all the resources this deck happens to have left to deal extra damage. So, play that Poké Blower Plus, flip a coin, heads, so we're at 110 damage on the side. Super Scoop Up, flip one more time, tails. So, also, I could even play the Seeker, pick up Crobat, Flash Bite again. That could be my 120. I can also pick up Uxie, set up again, draw 7, just to show you guys 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The deck draws itself on turn 1. So, I mean, just looking at this, I can Poké Drawer for a card, Pokédex for a card, and use one of these last 3 Victory Medals. I need 1 heads on 3 Victory Medals to draw the last card. So that's my entire deck. I dealt altogether, realistically, 120 damage on the side, plus 70 damage with Sableye. Now, that clears my opponent's field with 3 80 HP Pokemon. Also, if they have lower HP Pokemon, I mean, I did 120 on the side, 70 with the active. That's what? 190 damage. That could be spread out almost. Now, depends on how I play the Seeker. You could almost knock out 4 50 HP Pokemon with that much. I've maxed this out where it could knock out 4 70 HP Pokemon all at once. But basically, when I play Seeker, my opponent is forced to pick up Ambipom, put that back in their hand. All they have left is Garchomp, and I can knock that out. So that's my deck demonstration. I'm on low battery, so I'm going to swap up batteries really quick, and I'll explain to you guys a little bit more additional analysis on how this deck works. Hopefully everything fit on screen. I couldn't see it, the camera was above me, but from what I see, everything is pretty close. So, I'll meet back up with you guys in 1 second and give my analysis. Hey everybody, I'm back, and I'm going to talk about a couple of different statistics for this deck, and why I believe this is the best version, or at least the most reliable version so far as winning on turn 1. Now, we're going to get to talking about Spiritomb, but so far, let's just talk about the basics. You start with Sableye. My handwriting's not that good. I hope you guys can read this, but what I say should make sense. You start with Sableye 40% of the time. So, against a deck that doesn't run their own Sableye or Spiritomb, 40% of the time, you're going to start Sableye, you're going to go off like that, and you're going to win on turn 1. Almost every single time. With enough practice, it's honestly, 9 to 9.5 times out of 10. I've been, practicing with it a while just because it's fun. It's something cool to do on your own. Once you start figuring out the right things to flip, the right resources to burn, you can, complete it a lot better. But we'll just assume you're winning every time because it can really get very close to that with practice. 40% of the time starting Sableye, you're just going to win that game. So the other 60%, where your opponent, starts with their Pokemon, and you don't start with Sableye, that's going to go to the coin flip, which means 50% of that, you're still going to be able to go off and win. Now, we're going to assume that if your opponent does go first, they can get enough Pokemon to prevent you from winning on turn 1. As you can see, the deck really has no strategy behind, or after turn 1, they just go for clearing that field right then and there. So with that 50%, 50% of it goes to them, 50% of it goes to you, 50% of that 60% is 30%. So against a deck without Sableye or Spiritomb, running out of marker, 70% of the time, you're going to be able to win on turn 1 without them even going to get to draw a card. That's not right. I don't think that represents a good format, and hopefully we're going to get some kind of change. There's been rumors that there is an announcement that Pokemon needs to make, but their lips are sealed at the moment, something like that. But as far as I know right now, I don't know anything. All I know is come the next format that we're going to play after regionals, we're going to deal with 70% of the time a deck with Sableye is going to beat a deck without it. If they're geared right now, just for winning on turn 1. Now, some people are talking about a deck with Sableye, something like running 4 collectors. You can play that collector turn 1 and get something like a Crobat G and an Unknown Dark to grab the energy and knock out Spiritomb. The only problem I see is if you're running something like 4 collector, Unknown Dark, all these other cards, you're not going to be able to win the regular scenarios when your opponent isn't starting Spiritomb. As you guys can tell, my list is very tight. It runs entirely on trainers. The draw is very focused, and it draws the entire deck turn 1. I honestly don't think it's possible. If you're running things like Regice and Unknown Dark and 4 Collector, you're just not going to be able to get these donks otherwise. Also, just for fun, let's look at these stats up against Spiritomb. Now keep in mind, these stats are not perfect. They're assuming that your opponent will never start with more than 3 80 HP Pokemon as basics, which, you know, that might account for 1 or 2%. It's not very often, but it very well could happen when they do run more basics. But this is, you know, just an assuming stat. Still, you're going to win the game more than 50% of the time. Now, let's talk about, I'll actually put the paper over, versus Spiritomb. Again, my marker's dying. I hope you guys can see this. Let me see if I can switch. Does this gray one show up? Perfect. Alright, versus Spiritomb, again, they get that same advantage that you do. 40% of the time, they start Spiritomb. Sorry, my handwriting's so bad. But they start Spiritomb, they're going to win that. So already things are looking pretty bleak. That only leaves 60% of the time to give you a chance, but if I pull up my calculator, that leaves 60% of the time for you to have the chance. Now, of that 60%, 40% of that, you're going to start with Sableye. And they aren't starting Spiritomb, because this is the 60% where they're not. So, 40% of the time, you're going to start with Sableye. Now again, these, I don't claim to be a mathematician. These statistics might not be 100% correct. But of that 60% of the time where they're not starting with Spiritomb, you still have that 40% chance of starting Sableye. So, 60 times 0.4, that equals, is that right? 60 times, yeah, that equals 24% of the time you could win off that. So that leaves 60 minus 24. That leaves a 36% chance where there's no Sableye or Spiritomb. Now this again is going to be one of those times where it goes to a coin flip. So we're just going to divide this by 2. Half of the time they're going to win, half the time you're going to win. That's 18. So your chance of beating them is going to be 18% plus 24% equals 42% of the time. Now I know that's not a favorable matchup, but people are talking something like if they run a Spiritomb deck, it's an auto loss. When really, and again, these statistics aren't perfect, there's things that can go either way. Probably drop it a couple percent just in case, because I could be doing this wrong. But from the way I see it, 42% of the time, running this deck, entirely trainer-oriented, can clear a field of 3 Pokemon just like that. You can still do that 42% of the time because they're not going to start Spiritomb every time, and there's nothing that they can do starting with anybody else. So, as far as I see it, the way this deck runs, you don't really need the Regice or the Collectors. Oh, bumped the camera. You don't really need the Regice or Collectors or Unknown Darks or any other, gimmicks like that. I think just running it straight with the Uxie-Donk draw engine, just with Sableye instead, does the job almost as well as Uxie-Donk used to be able to do it. So, that's pretty much my summary. This deck can win a lot of games just going turn 1. Also, the versus Spiritomb, these statistics kind of apply to, well actually, I don't know, it gets more complicated. If you're playing another player with their Sableye, things will get strange, but basically, the format becomes these two starts. If you don't run Spiritomb and you don't run Sableye in your deck, then you run a 70% chance of just losing turn 1, not even getting to draw to Sableye. And that's a ridiculous percentage. There's no way you're going to be able to run any other kind of deck. So all decks are either going to have 4 Sableye, 4 Spiritomb. And for you guys who are very into deck building, I haven't really set foot in this, but maybe you want to run some of both and figure out something that way. I think that actually might not be a bad idea. But basically, the format creates donks that can happen all the time where you have no control at all. You don't even get to draw a card because of the way Sableye's body works, and because of all the ridiculous draw cards that we have in our format. You know, we have a format where you can draw your entire 60-card deck turn 1, deal 120 or more damage on the side, plus 70 from your attack. It's absolutely crazy. So, hope I just enlightened you guys. Some people weren't really understanding how Sableye would work in this new format. This is how the deck works. This was actually an okay run. I sometimes able to squeeze out that extra 30 damage or so to deal full 140, 150. And again, this kind of comes in either playing well, using your junk arms correctly, or, you know, having a good hand, getting good flips. But the fact that you have a potential to clear so many Pokemon at once is just ridiculous to me. And it's just not going to be a good format. I'm going to look into, you know, I'm going to talk around, just make sure that Pokemon hasn't 100% decided that they're going to change something. And if there's no 100% on that, I think I'm going to write up a petition that either an online one that you guys can just sign with an e-signature, or a physical one that I could bring to regionals or such, to try and get you guys' support to look into alternative options to prevent this two-starter format. As always, hope you guys enjoyed this playthrough, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching.